Hi, I'm Christi Friesen. I'm so glad you could join me here at Fire Mountain Gems and Beads Jewelry Making Studio. You know what we're going to make today? We are going to make a drama dragonfly. These things are so great. Look at that. It's so full of crystals and sparkles and drama. You know you want to make one, don't you? They're very, very simple and easy too. They're made out of polymer clay, obviously crystals, and just a few other things you've got lying around, including, if you don't already have it lying around, you should, this flat wire. It's really fun stuff. But we're going to start with the polymer clay, all right? We're using Primo. Primo is a fun clay. It's specifically well accomplished for this particular thing because it's very soft, easy, blendable, very sculptural. So that's where we're going to start, and we're going to mix some white and some translucent. So all I've done is I've taken little slices of each, jammed them together, and I can cut or rip it and stack it together. And then when I use a cutting blade is often used in polymer clay, and it allows you to just slice, because it's got a very sharp side on one side, slice you right through, and see all those little lines you get because you've got layers of translucent and white. So you just put them together, smash them, rip and stack, and chop. Once you've got a chop like this, we're going to turn it into the wings of the dragonfly here. But before we can do that, let's make the wings. So prepare your clay, set that aside, let it calm down over there while we make the wings. Wings. I'm using a fun little product. This is a nice flat piece of colored aluminum. Isn't that wonderful? And look at how easily this stuff bends. Just a piece of cake. I've cut a piece here, and I've used these shears to cut it because the shears just cut like butter. Just look at how easily that cuts right through it. And that also saves some of your other wire cutters from being dulled by a more heavy metal. So what I want to do here is I want to make all 4 wings at once. It's more stable that way. If I just make 2 wings and 2 wings and stick them all in the body, that works. But this way makes the whole piece be a little bit more stable. You can tell by the size of this that we're probably not going to wear this. Although, hey, if you want to, big as in, go for it. I'm fine with that. But we're going to make it as something that you can hang in a window or on the wall, or who knows where you might hang it. So what I want to do is I want to just bend this and turn it into a dragonfly wing shape. So what I did first is I kind of drew the shape of my wings. I wanted to make sure that they have the right sizes. So I'm going to start on the bottom wing, and I'm just going to kind of use this as a guide. So see how I kind of go, okay, that curve is right about here. And I'm using my fingers. And I'm just going to kind of curve it around. Yeah, that seems about right. Now the next wing comes here. There's a bend. So here's how you do this bend. I'm going to put this to the side for a moment, and I'm going to pinch that shut. So you see what you've got here, but that's kind of a big wide bend, isn't it? Now I'm going to my pliers, and I'm just going to get them in there and push and push. See how that's getting even tighter? And I'm going to keep pushing. And now I've got it really tight in this little fold. And that will be, right here's my bottom wing. And then this becomes my top wing. And again, I'm going to use my pattern to make all those bends, okay? So I'm going to put that aside, and this is the end result of that. We've got the curve, we've pinched it, another curve, and then it comes all the way around and curves again. So there's our wings. Now you've noticed I've already started filling this with polymer clay. Let me show you how we do that. So we've got that little cut that we made, right? And then I'm just going to rip off a part of that, and we're going to start rolling it into the shape. I already pre-measured one, so I'm just going to kind of roll and form. And we're going to just see how that fits in there, adjust accordingly. Pinch a little off. Let's see. That seems like that's going to be a pretty good fit. So you see what I'm doing is I'm kind of putting it in there. I'm holding this wire, kind of pushing to the side. Now you notice how that bulges out just a bit? You can make it exact, but I usually find that it's easier just to take the blade and gently go. And when you're getting close to your finger, maybe take your finger out of there. You don't want to cut the tip of your finger off. What that also does is it kind of opens up that design that you just made. When you slice like that, you're revealing all those little stripes and things under there, which is way cool. All right, so now once this is here, I'm going to take this off. By the way, I'm working on a silicone sheet. These are fabulous. Nothing sticks to silicone. Now, I'm going to be using glue. I'm using polymer clay. All that stuff can be used right on this sheet, and then I can put the whole thing right in the oven. So it makes it nice. Because this is a bit more fragile and wobbly, I can keep it all on my work surface and then put the whole thing in the oven, so it's great. All right, now I'm going to push this back because once I put this in with a little bit of glue, I don't want to try to push that wire back in because it's going to meow, meow, it's going to keep jumping off, and that'll be frustrating. Okay, this is what we're going to use next. Lisa Pavelka's Polybonder. This is a super glue made especially for use in polymer clay. You don't have to use it, but it'll make your life a lot easier because as you can tell, all I'm doing is pushing and filling that clay in there. There's nothing that's really making it grab and stick. Polymer doesn't naturally stick to metal. It will grab while it's sticky, but once it hardens in the oven, and we'll talk about that later, it's going to pop right out. So if I use a little bit of glue, not only will it hold all the pieces in while I'm working, but it'll make sure they're sturdy afterwards. The thing I love about this glue, besides the fact that it stays adhesive in the heat, is it's got this fantastic little applicator. So I can just dab a little teeny bit here and there on the inside of that wire, and then it goes right in there, nice and easy. If you've worked with glues, and who hasn't, you know what they usually do. They glue your fingers permanently to your surface, and then you glue them to each other, and then there's a lot of cursing and yelling. So we don't want that. We want it to be nice and simple. So now what I've done here is I've put that glue, dab, 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 nice and simple, and I'm just pressing that clay to grab into all the sides there. All right, now it's not important that all of the clay in the middle touch because we're going to do something else in there, but it is important that it at least get really close. If it does, that's fine, but it doesn't have to. Okay, so you see what we've got so far? We've got some lovely little wing shapes, and they're nice and free-form wings. I'm not worrying about them being perfect. Dragonflies are natural, so their wings are always wandering. So we've got some wings here. We've got all of them filled with the clay. I'm going to get that clay out of our way. Now we're ready for the body. We're going to do the body in 2 stages. I just took some random clay that I had lying around, and I just squatted it all together and folded it and rolled it. And again, that's in that basics video. It's got some tips on color mixing. And I'm going to just roll this out into kind of a little bit thinner than I want, but just same length, because that's going to go on the back side of this dragonfly. So let's make it a little longer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put one piece on the back and then one on the top and sandwich those wings in between. So let's flatten that a bit. Again, another benefit of working on this sheet is I can kind of gently pick this up and lay it underneath there. All right, so there's our back wing. We're going to set that in. Here we go. Covering those wires, making sure they're in the clay area. Make sure there's a little room for a head. Right there. Press that down. And I'm pressing it fairly flattened so that it's almost right flat back down onto the surface again. This is going to go over the top. I want to adjust it to the right size. We're going to have to make sure that there's a head on one end, preferably the head that he would fly from, not in his butt, because that's not right. So we'll make sure put the big round end on this side, and I'm going to press it on top. Now you see how I'm kind of pushing it a little bit more in the middle, and I'm squeezing it there. Now you're going to have to pick this baby up, if you can. Let's do it. Oh, and I'm going to hold it here, so I'm supporting the whole thing, and I'm squeezing it together here. Now you might also notice, you see how there's a little bit of gap where that has come apart a bit as I've squished it in there? Don't worry about that. It's clay, it's unbaked, I can squish and squeeze and should be just fine. Make it filled in all the spaces. And you can take some time here to make sure both of those ends line up. You can use your fingers to blend the 2 halves together. I usually pinch it just a little bit here to give them a bit of a waistline. Dragonflies like that. And I'm also going to pinch where the neck area is for the same reason. See how I'm doing that? I'm just kind of pinching there and then pushing it back so that we've got a bit of a rounded head. All right, so how does that look to you? Looks pretty good? Okay. Okay. Now you notice I have just a little bit of a mess where I had more clay on one side than the other. Any little tool can just sort of blend those together so that you've got no weird areas. And I talked about those gaps. Now it's time to use your finger to just fill in any gaps. If you need to, you can take a little bit of clay and just press it into those gap areas and fill it up. Like let me show you here. Like let's say I think I filled most of the gaps, but let's say there was a little gap right in here. I can take a little ball of that clay and just press it in and fill up any areas. It's sort of like caulking a bathroom, but much more funner. All right, so I've got all that. If you want, you can give your little happy dragonfly some ridges on his tail. They have that, you know. You don't have to, though, but it's a dragonfly thing. And boop, boop, boop. You can make those go all the way around on the whole side or just on the surface. It's good. We definitely want to give him some eyeballs now that we gave him a head. You can use little bits of clay, but I suggest some flat glass rhinestones with a hot fix on the back. Hot fix is glue that once I press it into the clay, once it goes in the oven and bakes, that glue gets heat activated and melts itself right into the clay. So easy. And I'm just using another little fun tool here. This is called an embelly jelly. It's a stick with the embelly jelly on the end, and this is a movable, removable, remoldable bit of stickiness so that I can pick up my crystals with it. And it allows for easy pickup and placement. So eyes on the side. There, now you can see where he's going. All right, so we've got our basic dragonfly. Look everything over, see if you like all the things you see, correct anything you don't. Now it's time for the drama part. All right, now you notice this whole area in here, looks a little buggy. Why don't we make that thing look glamour? I've got a couple of different filigree type pieces right here. Look at this. How cool does that look? Now we're getting some drama. And I am just pressing this in. Again, if you want, you can use a touch of the Velcro glue and just put that polybonder right there in the middle, or you can wire it in. There's some wires in the back side. You can put a little bit of a wire and twist it in, put it in. I find just pressing it in and then gluing it either before or after works great. Now for more drama. Let's get crystals in here. Oh, baby. As long as they are glass, they can have hot fix or not. Most of these do not have hot fix because they're pretty big crystals, and I wanted some really major drama. So all I'm going to do is press those babies in. And because I'm pressing them in a little bit deeper, the clay is kind of grabbing around it. It makes like if this is your crystal, it kind of grabs a little bezel around there like a pillow. And that will hold it in really well, especially if it's just a wall piece. So you just kind of get crazy with your crystals and add as many as you want. This is a heavier crystal, so I'm just going to place that by hand. So you can see how easy this is. Oh boy, isn't that fun? I love it, putting crystals in. So I'm gonna let your imagination fill in the gaps. I think you can see where we're going with this. Just add crystal, 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 crystal until you are done. You might also notice too that not only do you have the whole rainbow of crystals to choose from, there's a lot of different colors of this wire. So this flattened wire here, so you really can make a whole crop of these dragonflies like little jewels. Okay, so once you've filled in the gaps, you've made all the crystals in here, you've pressed everything in deeply, you've looked it all over, there's one last little trick you can do, and that's using mica powder. Mica powder is wonderful with polymer clay. It's a pulverized mica, which is a stone, so that means it's going to go in and out of the oven, great, and there's tints in it, so you get all kinds of color and shimmer. I'm using a sparkle blue because I love it, and I'm just going to put a little tap right here on his bottom, so he has a shiny, shiny dragonfly bottom, and maybe just a little on the head. That'll add just a little bit of glamour. And of course, you can wipe that on somebody as they walk by and just get rid of the rest that way. Okay, so he's all done. He's ready to bake. How do we bake this guy? Again, you can go back to that basics video if you want the full story on baking. Otherwise, this will go on the Teflon sheet. If you don't have a Teflon sheet, you can put it on a piece of stiff paper or a tile and you bake it in the oven. This will take about a half an hour to 45 minutes to bake. It's kind of thick clay there, so longer is better than shorter. Once it's completely dry, you can let it cool and then use it. Now, what about hanging it up? There's a couple choices that you have. If you're not sure what you want to do with that, you can wait till you get it finished, and maybe this is a desktop one, or maybe you decided I'm going to wear that after all, and I'm going to put a big pin brooch on there and put it on my purse or my hat or whatever. But if you will know for sure you want to hang it up on the wall before it's baked, you can add a little hole just by taking a tool and opening up a hole here. Or after it's baked, you can use a little handheld drill and put the holes wherever you want. You may want to thumbtack it on the wall, or you may want to add a chain or something to hang it with. Okay, doesn't that sound like a lot of drama, baby? And you know you like drama in your life. And one more thing that makes all of this stuff even more dramatic is that these are just a few of the bajillion beads that you can find, the bajillion crystals, filigrees, all that stuff here at firemountaingems.com. But not only can you do all the crystal stuff, but the clays, the tools, the mica powders, and additional books, videos. There's an awful lot of stuff to let your creativity find ways and fun means to be more and more dramatic. All right, so have some fun with polymer clay, get all your great stuff, and I'll meet you back here at firemountaingems.com for more videos.